My life has felt like one big revenge film. The need to prove people wrong that have told me things I can and can't do, wanting to get back at people in the past who have put limits on me, ceilings on me, boxed me in. What I came to find out was it consumed me alive. Now, I was doing things that were productive, but I was doing them for the wrong reasons. I was doing them to prove them wrong. And I understand things like that can be used as fuel. Things like that can light a flame under you and create productivity. But I wasn't doing it to fulfill myself. I was doing it for ego and to get back at other people or society or whoever I blamed for the position I was in. So I touched on this a little bit in a previous video about my experience with the public school system, and I'll briefly touch on it in this one. So coming up in the public school system, I was a bit of a troublemaker, being when I was younger, and I'll take full responsibility for that. But I was also put in courses with people who were from special education. I was kind of boxed in a way with people who were also troublemakers to where I wasn't seen as someone who was going to succeed down the line. During the end of high school, when they had people going on college tours, they had me with the group going to see community colleges, which there's nothing wrong with community college, whereas most other students were going to see the state university, other big state universities, four-year universities, private universities. So I had grown up with a lot of resentment, a lot of vengeful thoughts. And after high school, I hadn't really done a whole lot with my time, but I ended up actually going to college for the wrong reasons. I had done one semester at a private university in a different state. And I didn't do it for myself. I didn't know what I wanted to study. I didn't have any major in mind. Heck, I didn't even know why I was there, quite frankly. But I did it because I wanted to get back at those people who told me that I wasn't good enough, who tried to box me in with the troublemakers, who tried to make me feel like I'm a loser. And overall, it was a waste of time. I stayed there for one semester and didn't continue, barely ever went to class, because I wasn't doing it for my own fulfillment. So with that, I worked minimum wage jobs. I worked in warehouses. I worked retail. I worked grocery. I worked a variety of jobs because I had to do things with my time. And this is something that went on for a few years after. It took me until my mid to late 20s to really let go of the vengeful thoughts, to really let go of the resentment that I had towards people and towards society. So what really was the breaking point for me, this is quite frankly an interesting story I haven't shared with many people, but what was a breaking point for me was I had a group of friends who I had communicated with over Instagram. We had a group chat, and this was during the time I decided to go back to college, and I was doing community college. And we would kind of make jokes, jabs at each other, and one of the friends in there took it a bit too far. So he came after me, making threats, calling me out, and claiming I'm a coward. He was training at an MMA gym at the time, and I believe he was doing kickboxing was his main discipline. I think he dabbled in jiu-jitsu a little bit. But he essentially called me out, and most people would look at that and laugh and ignore it. Quite frankly, I don't think it was that serious. Again, I was just young and dumb. But I took it serious, and again, this came from the resentment. This came from the vengeful thoughts. This came from the need to prove people wrong that when it's really not relevant. So I actually showed up at the MMA gym to confront him. And he didn't say anything at the time when I was there and he was there. So after that, I kept going because I wanted him to do something. I wanted him to show me if I'm a coward. I wanted him to show up and show me how much of a man he really is. And after the second day, he told me to come outside, and I went outside and talked to him. And he had told me just everything that was going on, and it was hard for him, and it was heartbreaking for him. And I explained to him that he called me out and made these threats over Instagram, which, again, I don't take threats lightly. something like that, looking back, it was pretty goofy and ridiculous. I don't think he meant it in that kind of way. It was just probably just talking crap among friends. But regardless of that, I took it seriously because at the time I couldn't help it. So the coach came out and talked to us. We were standing outside talking for like 30 minutes. And what's so crazy is that his car was actually not broken into, but someone had cracked the windshield on his car the first day I was there. So he thought I did it, actually, which I didn't do. And I told him I didn't do it. But he was kind of putting the pieces together thinking, oh, well, he's coming here to cause problems and this happened to my car, so he must have been the one to do it. And that kind of bothered me a little bit, but nevertheless, I told him, I said, look, dude, I didn't do that to your car. And we kept talking. And so anyway, the head coach of the gym came outside and talked to us both. And he basically said, one of you guys is going to have to leave the gym. And essentially it takes two to tango. And I said, I basically decided, okay, well, it is what it is. I've said my piece. I showed up and I'm not going to be coming to the gym then. It is what it is. And later that night, the friend that I had the falling out with at the gym, he had actually called me like about an hour after, and he was very sad, and he had said he was about to cry actually after I left. And we talked for about an hour and a half, just about a bunch of different stuff, because it was a few weeks since that incident happened, so we hadn't talked for a little bit anyway. But we had talked and essentially just said, look, like, it's just best to give time. I agree. And I went a few months without talking to him. Now, the head coach of the gym was actually a really cool guy, and we had texted a little bit, and he had told me just kind of about the whole situation. And the thing is, when I was there, I actually was training, of course, and I was practicing jiu-jitsu, which is not something I've done before. I did a little bit of wrestling when I was younger, but I fell in love with this art, with this discipline of jiu-jitsu. And had that not happened, I would have never had found jiu-jitsu. And again, an escapism, a way to, a hobby, a way to meet new people, a way to be productive with my time, a way to exercise, a way to learn self-defense. So in a way, it was really a blessing in disguise. And what I thought was interesting was the coach, which obviously it wasn't going to work for me to stay at that gym, but he had recommended a different gym in the area and wished me best of luck with my journey and everything. And I was thinking, especially after we talked that night, I was like, you know what? This world is so big and so limitless that these kind of little issues, these kind of little bickerings and disagreement, this resentment and vengeful thoughts is just complete nonsense. And I've come across a lot of people who are in my position. Again, this is why I'm making this video, because I know my experience is not exclusive to myself. From what I've heard, it actually seems like it's a quite common one. But I believe younger people, it could even be older people, a lot of the battles we face, I believe, are spiritual, more so than they are economic, more so than they are even in the flesh. I believe that these are spiritual battles that we face. And we're tested all the time. And what I learned from that was that hatred, that anger, that vengefulness, that resentment was for nothing. So it was awesome hearing from him later that night and making peace with him. And down the line, a few months later, we had actually both graduated from college. We transferred into a good university. And I ended up reconnecting with him a little bit. Now, he did try to reach out and rekindle and continue the friendship, but just myself, kind of out of respect, after everything that happened with the falling out, I talked to him. I didn't wish anything bad on him, but I just thought it would be best to go my own way, because there were other times where we did have little falling outs and disagreements. Again, this is nothing against the guy. It's just we didn't really mix in certain ways, if that makes sense. The chemistry and just disagreeing on certain things and, bickering here and there. But I was happy to see that he graduated university and was doing well for himself. And since then, I've been training jiu-jitsu the past couple of years around now. So this situation with the MMA gym was really the breaking point for me. I'd grown up in my teen years, in my 20s, with just overthinking about the most nonsensical stuff. Someone in high school said something that was rude or disrespectful, it would bother me. Someone going out and about showed disrespect, it would bother me. And look, as an adult, people are going to disrespect you. That's just the truth. People are going to be rude for no reason whatsoever. Again, I believe these battles we face are spiritual. We are tested on a daily basis, perhaps. I remember my first day, actually, when I had transferred from community college going to university. I was walking kind of around the campus, and it's a bit of a sketchy area around the campus, but parking is kind of a mess, so I was a little bit far away. And I had walked across the street, and I I try to acknowledge people, whether it's nodding at people, whether it's saying hi to people, whatever it might be. I believe that respect is something that should be guaranteed towards everyone, unless they're doing ridiculous things and their character warrants otherwise. But I'd kind of smile a little bit and nod at this homeless guy, and he looks at me in the eye and says, "F you," and I responded with essentially that same energy. And we were just going back and forth, talking back and forth, talking back and forth. And again, this was before that whole incident happened. But just looking back at small things like that, there comes a point where, whether it's enlightenment, whether it's just maturing and understanding, if that would have happened now, I just would have laughed. I mean, I'm the kind of person who, where if someone was flipping me off in a road rage incident or in a car or honking, I would take it personal. Nowadays, when stuff like that happens, I think it's hilarious, to be completely honest with you guys. I think it's just, again, there's so much going on in the world right now. So much that we should be thankful for. The other day, I was making a DoorDash delivery to a nursing home. And again, I don't want to be rude by saying this, but it looked like it was more of an asylum than a nursing home. There were people yelling. The building inside smelled horrendous. And the gentleman that I had made the delivery to, he was on his bed, on oxygen. It was in one of the hospital rooms, and he shouldn't be eating this kind of stuff with his health, but he had ordered a burger from Arby's. And just looking at stuff like that not only made me think how fast the time goes, where even the past 5 years has gone by like nothing. I can't believe how fast it's gone. But even looking at that, thinking to myself, am I really going to sit there and be caught up with something so minuscule, something so nonsensical, when I am an adult male who has their health, who is physically able? I mean, the other day I was driving down a neighborhood kind of up north from the city, and I had seen a guy by himself with a cane walking on the sidewalk. Couldn't even see. And we're over here in our little worlds getting worked up and angry about just the most nonsensical stuff. And again, I understand there are times where anger might be warranted. I understand that. But we have to learn to forgive. We have to learn to let go. Because that resentment, that anger, it will consume you. It will eat you alive. It'll age you faster. It'll wear you down. It will take a complete toll on your mental and physical health. I see it all the time. Stress, anger, misery. Things that have already happened. And again, as I said, people are going to show respect. People are going to do you wrong. You might get treated in ways that you don't deserve when you've been nothing but a good person. But you can't let the world beat you down into submission. You can't give in to the anger, to the resentment, to the vengeful thoughts. I mean, again, I was a lot younger at the time, and I was a lot more immature at the time. But I'm thankful that I was able to get over it, regardless of what age I got over it, regardless of how long it took. Because up to that point, my life was just one big revenge film. One Quentin Tarantino film just on rewind over and over and over and over again. The need to prove people wrong, not for my own self-fulfillment, but to, in my imaginary mind, get back at them. So, anyway, guys, I'm thankful you guys have stayed this long in the video. And with this channel, I was kind of thinking, because it's been a few days, it's been perhaps more than a few days even since I've uploaded, as to where I want to go with this channel. And the root of this channel was men's mental health, and that still is the focus of it. I believe that men are fighting so many battles in silence that you don't hear about. I've seen it myself and dealt with it myself. But I just want to make it clear that with these kind of videos, I'm hoping that I can relate to some people in seeing that you don't have to let these things define you or destroy you. I've been able to turn my life around in ways where I'm not going to act like I have it all figured out, but I was able to go to college and get a good degree. I was able to build my body physically. I'm constantly trying to learn new things and develop new skills, surrounding myself with more positive people. And all we can really do is just improve on a daily basis. So thank you so much, guys. Hope you all have a great night or great day, depending on what time you guys are watching this video. Appreciate it.